What's up, all my folks out in YouTube land? Daryl, also known as the Finisher. Hey, we're going to talk a little money today. Not the topic I normally talk about, but I have had a lot of questions about how I go about charging, and there's so many factors in it that we're going to have class today. All right, welcome to school, man. This is the Finishers Academy. You're going to learn a little bit today about just really crude ways on how to maybe figure out your pricing in the beginning. Now, like once you get going and you actually get some numbers built up in your catalog and you got P&Ls and you done filed taxes a few times, you're starting to see how much things actually cost you. You get more numbers going down the road, customer acquisition costs and all sorts of things. Then you can do all that a little later. That's not what I'm doing today. This is 101. Matter of fact, yeah, this is a prerequisite course to the basic accounting course, okay? So these are some really crude ways to figure out maybe what you can charge in the beginning, and based on your numbers that you put in, what you need to make at least to break even. These calculations should help you get there. But there are a lot of other factors that go into pricing. So this is just a base level thing. So anybody out there that says, well, that's not the way I do it, and well, I do it this way. Okay, that's wonderful. You can do it your way, man. There's a million ways to do it. So let's crunch some numbers. All right. First, we're gonna start with just a really quick method. This is the disclaimer, okay? All these methods are just quick ways to figure things out. Over time, after work, there are intangibles, there are other things that go into making prices. This is just basic numbers, right? This is a couple different ways to give you an estimate calculation. A lot of guys always are wondering what to charge. It's different for every area, but it's different depending on your personal situation. All right, so am I saying this is the one and only way to do this? Absolutely not. You do what you want to do. I'm just telling you different ways that I looked at it when I first started to help get me to understanding pricing a little bit more. So I just wasn't going in just throwing numbers out and then being catastrophically wrong, okay? So at least I had a basis. This is just to give you a basis that'll help you work with maybe what you want to make per year, or dealing with how many bills you have. What are your bills? Like, what's the point of charging if you don't have enough at the end of the day to pay your bills? It's crazy, right? All right, so since we got that out the way, let's proceed with class, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, we want to start with how many days are we planning on working in a year? Because I'm guessing that you're not planning on working 365 days, okay? So the idea of having to make $300 a day or something like that that's out the window unless you plan on never having a day off. And I did that. Y'all, salute your paper boys back in the day, man, because paper boys never got days off. It's crazy. Working these kids to death. All right, 365 days in a year. How many weekends do we have? I'm just gonna assume you don't wanna work weekends, but we don't wanna calculate it like you are working weekends, okay? So we're gonna take out weekends. So there's 52 weekends in a year, that's 104 days. Just multiply 52 times 2 to count Saturday and Sunday, you have 104. That's your weekends. Subtract that, you're left with 261 days. Now, are you planning on being off any other time? Yes, you are. All right. What if you get sick? You get a kid, you have a cold, or you got to put your vehicle in the shop, or just something, or you just want to take a vacation. You know what I mean? You're allowed to take a vacation, or just days that you had to work scheduled and something got canceled. You don't want to make it like the schedule is going to be packed every day for this whole 261 days. So you give yourself some leeway. I like to usually use 4 to 5 weeks. All right, couple days I'm gonna miss, couple days here and there. I had my daughter, I'm gonna travel with somebody to an event. Somebody I travel, take them to college, all sorts of things. So I usually try to say 5 weeks, right? So what's 5 weeks? That's 25 days. minus 25. That's gonna leave you with 236 working days. This is very important. This number right here is extremely important because, like I said, unless you plan on working 365 days a year, we're gonna base everything off of this number, us working this amount of days per year. Okay? All right, now, that's not saying you can't work weekends. It's saying, hey, maybe you have to take a day off and then work a weekend. Maybe you worked a weekend as a bonus. You got a call and it was a job you just couldn't pass up. So you worked a weekend. Hey, that's all bonus money. Or you could subtract that out of your working days and give yourself 2 extra days somewhere else. I don't know, do what you want with it. But this is what I'm gonna base these numbers on today. You might want 6 weeks off. You might want 8 weeks. I don't care. You do what you want with it. But this is what we're working with today. Let me fill this in, minus 25 days off, okay? So, see this? Take a picture. 236 days, that's what we're working with today. I'm gonna put that number in the corner for reference. So we're always gonna reference that. That's how many days we work per year. Now, we're gonna do a basic one, right? Basic is like how much you wanna make per year. We're just gonna start it out because the 6-figure number is the one that gets thrown out there so much, 100,000. Everybody wants to say they make 6 figures, right? Okay, let's do it. Let's go with 100,000. Well, it's a very simple calculation, right? You want to make $100,000 a year, and I'm saying you make 100,000. This is total. This is gross. This is how much money did your business bring in for that year? 100,000. You want to divide that by 236. You end up with $423.73, or just round it up, man, $424. So that means for you to make $100,000 a year in only working 236 days a year, you have to make $424 per day, per one of these working days. Now, believe it or not, $424 is not much to make in the trades. You can make this number very easily, but we're focusing right now on this 100,000. Everything has to come out of that 100,000, right? That means all the taxes, all your tools, all your overhead, your gas, everything has to come out of this 100,000. So you're not putting $424 in your pocket, right? But to make that much per day, it's really not difficult to do that. So we're at $424 a day, right? Per day is how you're gonna make 100,000. Now, divide that by per hour. Now, you can work 8 hours a day, right? But what I say is we're not basing this on what they do in the corporate world. We're basing this on what we do in our world, all right? If you wanna look at it like 8 hours a day, you can. I don't base anything off 8 hours a day, and maybe it's just personally because 8 hours a day is what you're conditioned to have. Because I base it off of 6. Now, that doesn't mean I always work 6. There's plenty of days that I work 12 hours. There is no set schedule. I go into a day with a plan, and I execute my plan. So remember, we had $424 a day to make $100,000 a year, right? That's gross. But now we have to say, if you want to break it down further, a lot of people keep talking about hours, and we got, billable hours and whatever. if you want to look at, this is just a real basic thing today. Maybe you want to base everything off 8-hour days. I don't. One reason is, and it's just me being a little petty, right? Because I was under that system for a long time, the 8-hour days and all that blah, blah, blah. I was brainwashed too. I didn't realize that the day is what you make of it. I could make 5 hours. I could plan on working 5 hours a day. You know what I mean? And it'll save me time for my Rex Kwon Do lessons later. I mean, whatever you might do is what you do. I usually base things off of 6 hours a day because even if I'm saying 8 hours, I might want to account for the drive time, if I got to stop at the store, whatever. If I got to write up estimates that morning, whatever I got to do, I'm basing things off of six hours, right? So, and to do that, you just divide by 6. By 6 hours per day, we end up with, I think it's $71? We end up with approximately $71 per hour. That's not bad. Like I said, to make $100,000 a year gross, all you gotta charge is $71 an hour, work 6 hours a day. For 236 days a year, that'll get you to $100,000. Now, that's a low bar because, you know, like I said, that 100,000 that we were talking about, that's really so since everything falls underneath it, we got to change it up just a little bit, right? So I'm gonna do one other method that'll give you a little more insight. It'll actually, like I said, it'll give you a little more insight to what's possible, but you'll have to take it from there. So this next method we're gonna figure out is gonna include our overhead, right? And taxes and things like that. And like I said, this is still very basic. There's a whole lot of numbers that you can get. You start getting P&Ls and all that, and you start getting all these little intricate numbers that'll break down and, cost per customer acquisition, all kinds of things you can figure out. But you're not gonna have enough data when you start out to know these things. I might say my overhead, they say a nice round number of $4,000 a month. You know, of all the money that I have to pay out, I'll give a round number of $4,000 a month. $4,000 a month in overhead. All right. When I include an overhead, I include everything. Everything. I'm talking about, I don't care your mortgage or your rent, all your groceries, everything that I don't care if it's personal, if it's business, every bill that you have to pay is gonna be part of this overhead. All right? Like I told you, your Rex Kwon Do lessons, man, include that in your overhead. $4,000. This is just for now. You can break it all down a little more later because you can tweak things when you break them down a little more later. So, you could say, oh man, if I tweak this much in gas, if I just was able to save $10 in gas, I could change it to this, and you can really tweak the numbers and get crazy with it. We're not gonna do that here. This is real base level. You figure out getting started how much I could charge somebody for some of these things. So this is how much another thing with this overhead, yeah, like I said, this is $4,000, but you got to think about it like this. Overhead varies depending on who you are. This is why it's so hard when people just say, hey, what should I charge? I don't know. I don't know your situation. I don't know where you live. I don't know your situation. I don't know anything. So I can tell you, I might be able to tell you what I charge, but then again, I don't really even tell the customers that. So like break down what I charge to them. So I'll just be putting my prices out there, breaking them down. But what I'm saying is it varies upon your situation. So if you're an 18, 19, you live with your parents and your overhead totals $1,000 a month because it's just basically your truck or, a couple things here and there, but you don't have much overhead. That makes a significant difference. You might be able to charge the $75 and make just as much as me because I have 6 people in my family, 6, 7 people that I got to help and do things for. So it changes. Your situation really affects these numbers. That's why, you have to figure out your own overhead, what that means to you. Now, on top of that, I might say, I want to make $500 a week. is owner's pay. You always have to have owner's pay. You might not in the beginning pay yourself or whatever. I mean, who knows? But you want to eventually be paying yourself something. So say I say $500 per week, owner's pay. Right? Then I want profit, right? You do want profit. Otherwise, if some people plan on growing and adding more trucks and things of that nature, how are you gonna do that? You need profit. If you don't have profit, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not in business. You're just doing favors out here. You might as well, if you don't have any profit, you might as well have a job, because you can cut that overhead way down with all your business expenses and all that, and you won't have the owner's pay, but whatever. And then you won't have to have all this extra. There's no point having all these headaches, doing all this extra for no profit. Come on, man. You need profit. So, you might say, hey, say you want to make $1,000 a week profit. Like I said, this is really crude, man. Really crude numbers. This is per week. This is per month. This is per week. We're going to take that into account. All right. So I'm going to go back to the total year. I'm going to take all this and we're going to go back to the year, and we're going to calculate it out to the whole year. So your overhead for the year is $48,000. This owner's pay, we said every week. We're gonna calculate it for the entire 52 weeks. I know we're only gonna work this. We're only gonna work 236 days. But just because you take vacation doesn't mean you don't wanna get paid, right? That's how you have to look at it. I mean, it's the same way they would calculate it if you had a job. You have vacation days or whatever, your salary is all calculated within your salary. So owner's pay, we're gonna take that out for the entire 52 weeks in a year. That means owner's pay is $26,000. And before you say that's low, keep in mind that everything's already paid with your overhead. Okay, so before you're like, I pay myself $2,000 a week. Well, congratulations, man. You're the greatest person of all time. That's wonderful. But we're just doing this as a very crude thing. And now we go to profit. Of course, we'll multiply that per year. That's $52,000. Now, add all this together. We got $126,000 per year, right? But this is where a lot of people forget to do. Where are the taxes, man? Where are the taxes? Well, take a picture. I'm about to erase this. Right? So we're gonna start working on this 126,000. So we said after we have all those numbers, we have 126,000. That's with the overhead. That's with what we want to make. We decided we wanted $1,000 a week. We decided we wanted $500 in owner's pay. Okay? That gets us to $126,000 a year. But we have to take into account taxes. Taxes, my friend. You can overestimate taxes if you want. You can underestimate them. You're not gonna know in the beginning. So, hey, maybe take a little more, but you're gonna have a lot of write-offs and tools and materials and all these things. So I'm just gonna throw a number out for taxes we're gonna use for this, just for this situation. You can switch it to whatever you want to try to use it for, okay? So we're gonna go with 20%, all right? So we're paying taxes are 20%. Now, how do we figure this thing out? Now, we don't say taxes are 20% of this number. This is what we want. This is the number that we want to have in our pocket after the taxes are paid. So we have to figure out what number did we take 20% of and get this, right? How do you do that? I'm about to take you back to algebra. But hey, whether you know it or not, I was a student in applied math and theoretical physics, okay? I mean, that was my major when I was in college. I didn't finish, but I took a whole lot of math classes and physics classes. But I didn't finish, not because I couldn't. There's a whole nother story. We'll get into that one day. But the way you want to look at it is simple calculus. Some simple algebra. X times a percentage equals 126,000. Right? We said 20%. Or no, we said we had 20% taxes. What does that mean? Which also means you got to look at it this way. This number is 80% because this is 20, it's 100%, right? You took away 20% of this number. Or you can look at it like this number is 80% of this number. And that's the way I like to do it. So I just go with 80%. Remember, the taxes are 20. That means that this number is 80% of this number. So how do we get that? We just divide this number by 80%. 0.80, right? Makes it a very simple division number. So then X equals 157,500. So this is what you would have to make in order to cover your overhead of $4,000. Remember we said that? Profit $1,000 a week. And then have $500 in owner's pay. Now you could tweak those numbers however you want. That's the beauty of doing these calculations. So this video is gonna be here. I told you, my page is gonna be like a reference guide to certain things. So you can watch this video a million times. Nah, but for real though, that's what it's here for. It's here for a reference. So you can look at that calculation again, but that's what we get to. So $157,000 includes taxes. That means after we pay 20% tax, we'll have $126,000 left over, and that's real money you have in your pocket, right? Now that's when this 236 comes in. Because we do what we did before, except now we know we have a number. We know a couple of our numbers behind it. We know if we have 157, then our overhead is paid. We got $1,000 per week in profit, and on top of that, $500 a month per week in owner's pay. I mean, so you'll be able to stack up, and you'll be able to get, if you want to build, if you're planning on building a business, you'll be able to grow and actually get places. Okay. That's how you'll be able to buy a truck. That's how you'll be able to pay things down. And me, I'm not about that credit. I'm about paying cash. That's how you'll be able to have enough money in your account. And then that's a whole nother thing. Is like once you get the money in your account, how you disperse it, what you do with your profits and all that. That's a whole nother thing. But for right now, 157, once again, like we did before, we divide that by 236 because that's how many days we're going to be working per year. I'm sorry, 157.5. I used to hate that. I used to hate when the teacher would use their finger to wipe off the whiteboard or the chalkboard. I just did it. It's crazy. That equals $667.37, or it's essentially $668. So that means to actually take home that $126,000, you're gonna have to make $157.5. That's assuming 20% taxes, and then you're gonna have to make $668 per day on average. That's on average. So let's crunch the math again. 668. What are we saying per hour? We're gonna divide it by 6 again. That's 112 per hour. So that's what that's telling you. In order to make that money, that amount is coming up to, in order to make $157,000 per year in 6 hours a day, working 236 days a year, you gotta average 668 hours or $112 an hour if you're working 6 hour days. I mean, when you look at that, that's not crazy. That's nothing that's over the top to make $112 an hour. You might be wondering when you first start, are people gonna pay you that? I don't know. This is why, like I said, I don't charge by the hour. And let's have a discussion about that, right? Like I said, take a picture, man. You know what I mean? Go back through it. Look at the different numbers. Maybe write it down. Plug your numbers in that work for you, and see what kind of numbers you come up with. What kind of per hour numbers you have. Now, I do not charge per hour. I think charging by the hour is trash. Okay, because even though $112 an hour seems cool, and grossing 157 sounds good, that's still a ceiling. I don't like any ceilings. Okay, I don't like putting caps on what I can make. So we're gonna go. Let's talk about a little bit of the intangible. All right, so we just finished all those calculations, right? Now there are a couple other things you need to just keep in mind. You go over to the contractor fight. They say, hey, figure out what you need to do the job and then add 50% onto that. You can do that. There's a lot of different ways to do this, okay? What you don't want to do is just figure out how much you have to pay in bills and then barely be on top of that and then feel bad for the customers and whatever else. This is what's going to happen. You're going to be in business and you're struggling and you're going through all this. Nobody cares, right? You go out of business because your prices are so low. Your prices are so low that you just can't keep up. And now you go out of business, and what's the customers going to do when you go out of business? Yeah, they're just going to find somebody else, right? And then they're going to say, oh man, he was good, man, but I don't know. I wonder what happened to him. Well, let me dial the phone, see if I can find somebody else. That's it. That's it. Their feelings don't matter when it comes to your business, right? We're not going to base anything off of feelings. But you also have to be able to look at intangibles. So I could have looked at that price and said it's $112 that I need to make 157. All right. So I need to make 668 a day. Okay. But there's times that I can make what if I can make 1,000 in a day? I might not make that what if I can make that? What if I can make 1,500, depending on what I'm doing, right? That puts me way past that. So that's what I'm saying. The stuff that you're working out is just a basis. But I might have a day where, I don't know, I'm looking at a project the customer has. I'm thinking it's going to take me 3 days. But I look at the complexity of it, and I look at the drive, and I look at all these things, and I say, okay, well, I know that I need to make at least, to get to my goal, I need to make at least $668 a day. But this job is going to require this extra, so I'm going to charge $850 a day for this job. And it's just because it's worth it, because, yeah, that's base level, but it's not a base level project. So, yeah, because of this, that, and the third, I'm going to charge an extra $200 a day. That's your choice. They could take it or leave it, right? But that's your choice. It's what you have to figure out. But you don't have to box yourself in and say, well, on paper it says I have to charge $112 an hour, so I'm gonna just charge $112 an hour. You can do that if you want. But I like to look at the hourly charge as just a reference, right? That 112, if that was gonna be my crude number that I was looking at that I need to charge per hour, it's just a basic. It's just basic. Well, there it is, and there you have it. I told you before, this here is like a reference page. So, you can get to a certain spot and like pause it and look at the screen and like write everything off the screen and maybe try to figure out your own numbers and see how they work for you. Play around with it. There's no exact thing. That's the whole point. There's no exact numbers, or else everybody's numbers will be the same all the time for everything. Play with the numbers, figure things out for yourself. All right. Like, comment, subscribe, holler at me in the comments, man. Let me know what you think, or hey, let me know if you got a different method. Let us know that too. Hey, you might have something that's even faster. Let's go, man. Handyman 2.0. Let's build this community. All right. So, till next time, stay safe, be blessed, and remember, if the trades don't work, nothing else does.